I really think the that's called ClimateGate over whether climate is really warming and whether there's scientific evidence is one of the worst cases of industrial meddling I've ever seen. This small handful of climate skeptics is uh, well funded by the oil and gas and coal industries. It's well known. Some of the people who work for that actually changed jobs. They previously worked for Big Tobacco until Big Tobacco is all but lost. All of this is documented by the CBC in I think it was a Fifth Estate program called The Denial Machine a few years ago, with all of the same faces of people who, with testimony pro tobacco, and now it's pro doing nothing about climate change. But the tactics are just amazing. One person that I know very well claimed to have been a professor of climatology. If he was a professor of climatology for as long as he claimed, he would have started when he was an undergraduate. In fact, he never was a professor of climatology. He was a professor of geography. He had never published anything on climate. He had one paper that had something like the Hudson's Bay Company temperature records in it, in some obscure journal, and hadn't published anything in the previous 20 years. Like to imply that this was because when he put something to publish, all of the climate scientists who were in the conspiracy would just beat it down. Well, I have been until a month ago on the editorial board of science, and still am on proceedings of the U.S. National Academy. I handle most of the climate things. They don't even submit anything. So their whole program is via this doubt casting web-based. Web is really powerful for getting these methods out in the public eye, in the eyes of people who don't understand science. Scientists that I know wouldn't do anything like that. Not enough of them agree on any one thing. You go to a scientific meeting and see all these people knifing each other and saying that data point can't be right because of this and so on. You're not, you no more get a conspiracy among 4,000 scientists than you would if you had one mouse and 4,000 cats. It's just a totally different culture, and it's obvious that people just don't understand it. The person who dreamed up this scheme is, and I can't imagine what a person that evil-minded could do if they really put their mind to it. It just blows my mind that thousands of pieces of good science are just being cast aside. There was a social scientist 2 years ago who looked at all scientific publications and scientific evidence that global warming was a hoax. Didn't find one paper. And yet there are journals that would love to have things. I would love, as a member of the editorial board, find a well-founded paper showing that climate wasn't warming and send this out for review. It just doesn't happen. Everybody who is a member of a Royal Society or a National Academy or something has done something that scientists didn't agree with. And the reason they reach stature is that with the backing of data, they convinced the scientific community that they needed to change the way they think. Climate warming is no different. If you had a well-backed paper, well-backed with data, showing that climate was not warming, just the culture of science is it would have to be accepted. There would be nothing to prevent it. Some journal would take it, a peer-reviewed journal it would have to be, where you'd get two or three eminent peers, but most of these people are looking for well-argued and well-supported science. They're not looking for some way to keep people from participating. It's just an absurd assumption, and yet people think there are these 4,000 conspirators out here. That's not saying that there's no errors in the IPCC report, but this is an old tactic too. And if I really wanted to make buckets of money, I've done enough participation in hearings and that. The way to discredit an expert witness is not to look at everything he's testifying. It's to look for the errors in it. And you zero in on one or two errors and make him look like a fool. And then the judge or the hearing panel or the public at large thinks that everything he does is like that. And that's exactly what's going on here. Some of the reviewing of IPCC was pretty shoddy, not to catch things like the slip up in the date of the Himalayas are melting, things like that. But I don't know. It's on the face of it. If anything, I actually have just given a presentations this fall. The IPCC report is too conservative. I haven't seen anything from skeptics, but I've sent on for review a dozen papers in Science and PNAS, and I've seen the equivalents in Nature that show that the IPCC predictions are way beyond what's happening since 2004. Sea ice is melting 20% faster. We're getting higher tides and sea levels than they're predicting. The ocean is acidifying faster. It's becoming less efficient at absorbing CO2 faster than was predicted. There's lots of stuff going on. It's way more urgent than the IPCC put it. And if you were to ask me to criticize the IPCC, I'd say they really undershot all the arguments. And if you see how these people are picked, you know why. The U.S. might pick good scientists, and Canada and so on, but some of the countries like China, Korea, and so on, they pick people who are going to sort of downplay the arguments because the agenda of those countries is to see the economies expand. And there's always this ultra-conservative element. I've reviewed for IPCC a couple of times, not on the 2007, but on the 2001 report. And same for the Millennium Assessment, where I did review the 2007 ones. Main reason I didn't do the IPCC, they were too big sections. But you just think, how can people be this conservative in what they're saying and say that this is modest probability when everything you see shows that it should have a high probability of happening. So I just think we're making some tragic mistakes right now because of this. And if they ever catch these people who are responsible, they ought to draw and quarter them. This isn't an incident that is going to cause a minor setback. I think we're on the brink of making some serious blunders that are going to affect the globe for a long time, all because of the few hacked emails that somehow somebody missed the fact that hacking them and publicizing them is a criminal act.